Well, it's always good to get going, start of the week, and be with the guys again. And looking forward, obviously, to have a great week of preparation, and it'd be good to get back into Big Ten West play.
Paul, they've had to use a couple quarterbacks because of injuries. I'm just curious if there's any discernible difference individually what those guys can do and what they try to do schematically when one guy's in and one guy's not.
Yeah, and you only know what you see on film, and yet, obviously, two different guys, and I know when we're in those situations, you have to still run your offense, and yet I think there are things that each person, you kind of, there's a lean, right, in what you go with. But, as you prepare, you got to prepare for it all, and it's got to fit. What you do schematically has to fit with and versus all of that.
Paul, how do you think Branson Williams has looked coming back from his injury a couple of games into coming back now?
Yeah, I mean, it's it's been really good to have him back, and you appreciate really anytime a player gets injured, there's a path to recovery, right? And they're all different, and you appreciate all that goes into it. There's a lot that goes into it, and I think it's been good for him to get back, not only playing, in the games, but, in practice. And obviously, last game we were able to play a lot of players. Didn't get a ton of snaps, but it's been good the last 2 weeks to get him going again. And I think, there is a little bit of a I don't want to say it takes time, but you got to get back into the action. I think he's handled it well.
Jeff? Paul, on that last series against Michigan State, it looked like Hicks and Wild Goose kind of came in late in the middle of that drive. And Hicks was saying after the game that they kind of did it on their own. Did you guys send them in there, or did they really just go in on their own?
In situations like that, I don't know exactly what happened. In the situation that, we do play a lot of guys, and so at the time I didn't know, but they're not liars, probably.
How have you seen Noah Burks just continue to develop? This defense has so many guys that are having standout seasons, but he might be a little bit quieter on the stat sheet. But what have you seen impact-wise from him with your defense?
I think what Noah's done a really good job of, and I thought it started in the spring and then fall camp. He's been really consistent, and you're able to rely on what he's doing, and he'll do it. If he's supposed to play it a certain way, he's going to do it. And I think that it's been also fun for me to see. And I know Coach April's been excited just as you continue to play and, different situations come up that, when he does make plays, I think that helps. There's a guy that has put in a lot of work, but, this first time he's getting this type of action. And I think, each play and each game, that gives you that experience that you can kind of rely on and trust on, and certainly needs to keep growing that way. But I've loved the way he's gone about it, and I think a big part of it's been his consistency.
Paul, Alec Ingold did a nice job for you last year. How have the fullbacks come along, John and Mason, so far this year?
I think they've done a really good job. I think they've continued to progress, and you appreciate that. And both a little bit in a different way. I think Mason, it's probably just over a year now where he's been playing fullback, after the move. And I think he's really understanding kind of what he's supposed to do and obviously applying the how to do it. And I think John the same way, more, kind of started there, but it's been a, kind of that work of a young guy becoming a little bit more seasoned. And I think both give you some of the same things, and yet I think both are just different enough that it's a pretty good combination.
You've had games where your quarterback has been under duress from a really good defense.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have done that to opposing quarterbacks this year. What are the effects when a quarterback, either the running game's not working or he goes back to pass and there's just not a lot of time? How does that affect a quarterback mentally?
Well, I think it's, there's every every time you're playing, especially quarterback, if you can be in rhythm, right, that's a good thing. And when you can disrupt rhythm, that makes it harder. And, I think, some quarterbacks, every quarterback probably handles it differently. Probably if you look at it, there's different styles to be out of rhythm, whether it's coming from a pass rush, whether it's coming from coverage, whatever that may be. But I think anytime, in this game, doesn't matter what position, anytime you can make someone uncomfortable, that's another stress, right? And I think the good players learn how to play through that. And, the old adage that you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. There's some truth to that. But it's, every defense in America, that's what they're going to want to do, right? How do you disrupt the quarterback?
Do you worry at all about this group being ready to play on a Saturday, no matter who the opponent is?
I don't worry about them, but you never take it for granted. And so I think you do all you can to make sure that you take advantage of every opportunity. But with this group, I don't worry about it. But at the same time, I think that you have to. You never want to take anything for granted, and that's every week. That's not this week. That's every week.
Paul, obviously, we've written a lot about the sacks, the pressure you guys have put on. Have there been a number of times, too, where your coverage in the back end has allowed the rush to get to the quarterback, where they've taken pressure off the rushers?
No doubt. I think the two go hand in hand, and absolutely.
Jeff had asked you about putting the opposing quarterback under duress. I don't know how much duress Jack has been under, but when he has been, what have you noticed from him?
I think he's handled it. He's handled it well, and I think he's done a good job. If you go back and probably look at the last 6 games, of kind of at times moving and kind of avoiding it, and a few come to mind where you kind of reset and still get a throw down. He's had a couple where he's taken it and run with it, and I think that you're always working on that, because those are hard things to drill. Any of that, I think it comes up naturally when you practice, but it's hard to create a drill that, when you've got to move, or like the term, when you're under duress, what do you do? And so I think that's why it's important when you're practicing, just to be in that moment, because you don't know when it's going to come up, and you got to be able to, to work those. But I think, he's done a good job, I think, for the most part. We don't tell him that. Yeah, he knows.
Paul, any team would love a 5-game homestand, but is there any excitement from you guys? You see that they're going to go on the road and possibly just shut down an away stadium?
Well, I think there's always excitement to the week, and this week we go on the road. But you put a lot of work in, and these players go. You say all off season, but some of these guys have had to wait maybe a year or 2 to play. So schedule comes out. Which games you got at home, and which games you got on the road, and you're excited for every one of them.